This is a lesson on transparency, but it's also a lesson that I've prepared for a unit that we're teaching next term on Indigenous Australia. We talked about the one which we might be able to use maps to show the connection that Indigenous people had with the land and the types of relationships they had. I thought I'd start here in Google Earth with a live image with the opportunity to talk with kids about the continent of Australia, what they knew about it, also explore the geography of the area just by looking at a satellite image. We could detect things like river systems and a range of features of Australia. After we've kind of brainstormed what we know, we might try and go then to our notebook file and talk about the different characteristics of the places where most of our population live. Mainly in Australia, it's obviously the coastal regions, and we can kind of start to detect certain areas that are particularly more fertile than other areas. We might locate the cities. That might indicate where the bulk of the population actually live. We also might start to think about this area in the centre of Australia that is desert and quite arid. We might take some time to consider the differences between those two landscapes. Where the transparency tool comes in really useful is that underneath this map is actually a record of the language groups of Indigenous Australians. And here we enter into a discussion and an invitation to compare and contrast the types of language groups that might have occurred on the more fertile coastal areas of Australia and compare and contrast those to the more the desert communities. We might make all kinds of deductions from the data in front of us that suggests that Indigenous language groups living in more fertile areas tend to be smaller in geography and perhaps more dense in population, as they are supported by a wider diversity and fertility of the land, and those living in more desert areas need larger areas for their nomadic lifestyles in order to find sustenance. This is just a springboard into touching upon the connections of Indigenous people in Australia using transparency.